It's now time for What's Up Asheville, sponsored by the City of Asheville, with the host, Mr. Sam Parada, and here he is.
Hello Asheville, welcome to What's Up Asheville here on WRES 100.7 FM. It's been some time and I apologize for that. Work at the city can be very busy and a little crazy sometimes, but we come to you today with a new episode, a new guest you've never seen before. We have Debbie Alford with the Community and Economic Development Department, but more specifically the Division of Homeless... please help me with this.
Homeless Strategy Division.
Homeless Strategy Division, yes. So Debbie works a lot with strategizing, how, what are some things that can help the community when it comes to homelessness, and how we as individuals can also help the city because, this is not a city problem. This is a community problem. I'm sure you'll tell us a lot about. And yeah, we'll just go from there. But yeah, Debbie, how are you?
Doing great. Thanks for having me, Sam.
Great.
It's really good to be here.
Yes, we've chatted so much, and this is finally the time where we get to meet in person.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun to do that. So tell me more about you specifically, like your background, how you made it to the city, and what it is that you do with the city now.
Yeah, so my background is homelessness nonprofit work. I've been doing this work for about 5 to 10 years. Initially moved to Asheville about 10 years ago to work with middle schoolers and high schoolers and doing some education around social justice issues in our communities and ways that they can be involved in solutions. And so through that work, I became more familiar with the plethora of nonprofits in our community and people doing good work to help our neighbors, and wanted to then get more involved with people experiencing homelessness, which led me to my work at Homeward Bound. Mm-hmm. So I worked at Homeward Bound for a few years where I specifically did some landlord engagement and helped clients locate housing and sign leases. And through that work, I was able to learn people's stories and hear about their experiences on the streets, both unsheltered and sheltered, and thought to myself, there's got to be some way to get upstream of this, and learned from a lot of those folks that they had first experienced homelessness coming out of foster care or coming out into adulthood, like as they were entering 19 and 20, their parents were no longer taking responsibility for them. And so I thought to myself, well, I want to go work with youth experiencing homelessness. So I spent a couple of years managing Trinity Place Youth Shelter, which served kiddos 7 to 17 experiencing homelessness.
That early?
Yeah.
Wow.
Homelessness and a housing crisis. And so at that point in time was in communication with Emily Ball, who works in homeless strategy as well, and was thinking wanting to get upstream. What is the next step in getting upstream, even further upstream than this? And knew of the work of homeless strategy and was learning about the continuum of care and the collaboration that we need in our community in order to really think about homelessness from a broader perspective and surround an individual with the services they need. And so that's kind of how I ended up at the City of Asheville working in homeless strategies, kind of quite the backstory.
Everyone has a crazy backstory.
Yeah.
How they ended up working for the city. I mean, personally, I never thought I'd be working for the city.
Right,
I came from the private sector.
Same.
And you came from the non-for-profit.
Yeah.
And here we are.
Here we are.
So great. Thank you for that backstory. I mean, it just shows that we got people with experience, and this is not an easy topic to either tackle or talk about. I would imagine there's a lot of ideas, misconceptions, or we could talk about this for hours.
We could talk about it for days.
We only have 30 minutes.
30 minutes, okay.
So I wanted to mostly bring you in to talk about your series, which is the Learning Series.
Yeah.
It happens. You tell me about it.
Yeah, so the Homeless Learning Series was a project that Emily and I kind of really thought about and planned because there are so many people that are concerned about homelessness in our community, not only just the city of Asheville, but Buncombe County as a whole.
Yep.
And we wanted to get information out to people, have opportunities for people to really learn about homelessness, and then have a questions and answers and be able to be as transparent as possible about our community's history. And so last summer, we really started hashing out what the sessions would look like, what the plan might be to implement them in the community. And so we've been hosting those sessions since October, and we've had over 200 participants participate, and about 60 of those have completed all 3 sessions, which is just really cool. It shows how much people are willing to engage in this subject and how interested people are in homelessness and really want to be a part of what's happening and want to know where they can help people and that kind of thing.
Yeah, and you mentioned that some people have completed all 3 lessons or classes. So this is a monthly event, I'd call it, and there's 3 different series that goes along with it. Let's talk about the first one.
Yeah, so the first one is...
just to jump in real quick. So again, these are monthly events that happen, and you don't have to go to the first one to go to the second one, but it's preferred that you do because they really build off of each other, and they happen weekly.
Right. So, I can go into the background on some of that. Sorry. The Homeless Learning Series occurs monthly. I try to schedule them at libraries so they're easy to access. There's parking availability. Libraries usually have great tech setup and that kind of thing. We really want to have an informal environment that enables folks to have that conversation and engage deeply. So typically 3 consecutive weeks out of the month, I'll do that series, and I try to one month I'll do them at like 9 a.m. and then the next month it'll be at like 3, and then I'll try to do an evening session just so like folks that are working can come and access depending on their
And there are different
schedules.
Locations too.
Yeah, different locations. For instance, this current April series started last week on Thursdays at 4:30.
Can you say the day because the show will play?
Thursday. Oh, sorry. Today is the 17th. So it was the 11th last week. April 11th. And then so the second series session in the series is tomorrow, April 18th.
yes.
4:30 at Amer Health Caritas on Ashland Avenue. And then in May, I don't have those dates off the top of my head, but they're at the East Asheville Library. And so you can check those out and get registered or contact me for more information.
And you can find this information too. If you go on Google and you Google Asheville Homeless Learning Series, you'll find the dates. You can sign up, you can register for them, add it to your calendar and show up. And there is little summaries on what you can expect each of the sessions.
Yeah. So next in May, we're at the East Asheville Library, and anyways, it's just really fun to be able to move those events kind of around the county to give different people an opportunity to attend. And like you said, it is preferred that people attend session 1 and then 2 and then 3. However, it's not absolutely necessary. I just always preface folks with, if you come to session 2 without attending session 1, you might have a little gap in your knowledge, and you can then catch up on session 1 the next month. Since it's ongoing, we have no plan of discontinuing at this point. So,
And these are great ways to, find and be a part of the solution. Hopefully mitigate some of the causes that lead to homelessness. And just, find, I assume you offer resources and different, information on people who may be on the verge of homelessness, or they know someone who recently fell into homelessness, like different ways to be able to help that are just not simply handing out money, or some people just don't know how to help, period, because giving money is not the only answer or thing that you can do.
One of the things I love about Asheville is that so many people care about our community and really want to be involved and help those around them. And I think that's why we have a lot of nonprofits doing this really great work with people experiencing a housing crisis already. So in the first session, we dig into the causes. Of homelessness. We talk about research from Greg Colburn, who talks about the rates of homelessness across the country compared to kind of common misconceptions about what causes homelessness. So he compares the rates of homelessness to substance use and weather in specific places. Like Asheville has a nice climate, so might that be related? He talks about the rates of homelessness compared to political parties. He talks about rates of homelessness compared to whether a community is generous or not. And some of those statistics he has published in a book, actually, and so you can Google Greg Colburn and watch videos and read all about his work. But one of the key things that he identifies is that he talks about precipitating events. And
what does that mean?
Yeah, so these things in a person's life that put a person at risk or make them more vulnerable to experiencing homelessness.
Right.
So that could be things like substance use and divorce and major life transitions, healthcare emergencies. All of those things tend to be what we think are causes of homelessness, but are really at a community level precipitating events for an individual. And then at a community level, where Greg's research led him was that housing affordability is really related to homelessness. And so folks that are communities that have a high cost of living generally have higher rates of homelessness. And so having a lot of affordable housing available in a community is really key to reducing numbers of homelessness and seeing that fewer people in our community are experiencing that.
And the community has been very outspoken about affordable housing, as you know, we expected and know. And it's not an easy conversation either. And I wish I had Sasha here with me. She's leading the affordable housing plan. And I know people hear the word plan and they might think, oh no, like the city's doing nothing. It just takes time. You have to get the plan ready. We need to bring an outside perspective too, because our staff can only do so much. And hopefully, I think in June or July, this plan will be up for adoption. And then based on that, we'll make some changes to ordinances and see what we can do. But just know that affordable housing is at the top of our list.
Yeah.
And I can definitely see it. I can see it. How can that affect it? And, there's little control that a city entity has, especially a local government entity has over this kind of thing, which falls under homelessness as well. There's only so much we can do. And I wish we were in charge of the changes and the outcomes, because we would have affordable housing and no homelessness. I think one of the things you're identifying is there are a lot of stakeholders in this conversation. So many.
And that's really what session 2 talks about, is solutions to ending homelessness and what that looks like in our community and what it historically looks like, and then kind of like national models for how communities work together.
Yeah.
So the goal in any community is to make homelessness rare, brief, and non-recurring. So we don't want a lot of people entering into homelessness. We want their experience of homelessness to be really rare. If a person is in a housing crisis, we want them to be rehoused in permanent housing within 90 days. And then we don't want them to come back into the system. So the reality is that communities are going to need a system to help address housing crises when they occur. Because no matter what we do, people are going to have medical crises. There's going to be people that get divorced or have financial issues or use substances.
And I was going to bring that up. It's the stigma behind homelessness. And, there's the idea that homeless people got themselves there because whatever individual choice they made. And I assume that some percentage is that way, but at the same time you have those unavoidable life surprises, the plot twists, the medical expenses, for example, or a bad family situation where a kid, even under the age of 18, is forced out of the home for whatever reason, be it safety or disownership. Is that how you say it? And those are things that are out of our control. And when you look at someone who's homeless in the street, that bias comes in.
We have this stereotype of a person that experiences homelessness in our head. I'm pretty sure for everyone listening to this, it's like that person sleeping unsheltered on the street. They all use substances. They all drink. We have this like stereotype of a person experiencing homelessness. And the reality is that most people experience homelessness for 2 weeks or less. We call that type of homelessness short-term homelessness, and then that there's a middle category called episodic homelessness, and those people might have one like major crisis that's happening, but then they're able to get connected with supports and end up back in housing relatively quickly. But that stereotype comes into play when we think about chronic homelessness, and that's a federal definition.
Okay.
So it's a little wordy, but that means that folks have been living in a place not meant for human habitation. So that could be places like sidewalks, emergency shelters, the woods, abandoned cars, RVs, places like that for 12 months or longer.
12 months.
Or they have experienced 4 episodes of homelessness in 3 years, and that time totals 12 months.
Wow.
And they have at least one disability that affects their housing. So that could be substance use, it could be mental health, it could be physical health. But what we're seeing, as you can imagine, folks that have been experiencing homelessness for that amount of time really have significant trauma, both from their life before they experienced homelessness. They have that traumatic experience leading into this, and then that trauma continues to occur as they are living in this housing crisis.
Right.
Homelessness is very hard on the body, and so what we know is that less than like 20% of people experiencing homelessness fall in that chronic category, identify as having a disability in that length of time homeless. So our stereotype does not match reality. And so those folks that we often see in those types of homelessness come out of these really vulnerable populations, people that are experiencing poverty or are doubled up for economic reasons. And doubled up means like, I had my own place with my family, and then I lost my unit, and so I went to live with my sister, who also has a small place and doesn't have enough room for us, but we're sleeping on her couch kind of scenario. So doubled up in that way, or living in poverty. So what we know is those folks are more likely to experience a housing crisis. They're more vulnerable to homelessness because they have fewer resources, and everyone is in that same space before.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm certain that when it comes to people who attend the learning series, or even people listening to the show, the big $1 million question is, how do you end it?
Yeah.
What is the solution?
The solution is housing.
Yes.
The solution is housing. And helping people get into housing, really having a system that is built out with lots of a variety of services that really can match people's needs. Because just as I need different housing than you, my white picket fence idea of housing is probably different than yours, right? We have different dreams in life. That is the same for people experiencing homelessness. The same housing intervention is not going to work for everyone.
Right.
Folks that have been homeless for relatively short amounts of time don't need extensive interventions like lifetime rental assistance and case management. They need a little bit of help to help get them back on their feet, to get them in that housing so that they can then thrive on their own without assistance. So we need a lot of different interventions. We as a community have to have that system that's really collaborating and planning together, because one of the things that I think we've identified is that there's no one agency or authority that has ownership of this issue, that has oversight over anyone else in the system. So like we have a lot of different nonprofits doing this work, and none of them have authority over the others, so that we all have to come together to have the conversation and pool our resources.
Yeah, and that goes into lesson 3, which is what can I do as an individual?
Right.
And, you know, from what I hear is that there's different, I guess, institutions and groups that provide information and provide opportunities to get involved, or opportunities to, you know, what to do if you're homeless. And I do think that, like many other things that a city does, it falls on the community to then act up on those things because we just either don't have the resources or we don't have the final say in the matter. So the best that we can do is inform and offer any kind of assistance that we can. But tell me more about how the community or individuals can help.
Yeah, so there's a few things. We haven't talked a lot about this system called the continuum of care, and so we could dive into that and take another episode, I'm sure, to get to it. But that system, that system collaboration community-wide is called the continuum of care. And so in session 3, I invite people to really consider the nonprofits in our community that are already doing this work. We talk about housing and shelter organizations. Those organizations are invited to that session to then speak with participants. So I encourage folks to connect with a nonprofit that's already doing this work, and then to really get involved in that like gritty work that nonprofit is doing. And it's not going to be glamorous because we all can't be social workers and case managers, right?
We can't. I've tried.
Yeah.
It's not for me.
But you know what? I bet you could clean a toilet or wash a table, and it's not glamorous work.
I mean, in my house, sometimes I do my best. But yes. And there's so much that you can do.
Right. So I invite people to consider what nonprofits are doing the work and then get connected with them. But also on that system level, anyone that is interested in learning about homelessness and wants to take action is invited to join the COC as a member.
Continuum of care.
Yeah,
yes.
the continuum
we call it the COC.
Yeah.
We'll call it COC from now on, but yes.
The continuum of care, which is really our community-wide organizations that come together, individuals that come together to plan and respond for what individuals and families in our community need. So we do that. And then the other thing we talk about in session 3 is like affordable housing committees. The city of Asheville and Buncombe County have those committees. So I invite people to participate in the work being done there, to stay aware of actions being taken to advocate for affordable housing, to think about affordable housing different in their neighborhoods. I invite them to say yes instead of no, and to consider treating folks with this crisis, with a housing crisis, as people first, because it is a highly traumatic experience, and people often are like treated like trash and not like human beings.
Yeah, and from an outside perspective, someone who has not experienced homelessness or know many people who have personally, talking about it might be difficult, and taking action might feel weird too. And it's really easy to complain or to bring attention to the fact that there's homelessness, and it's hard to actually participate. That's where the change happens, and that's like where the important bits of information come out. So I highly encourage you, if you're passionate about the topic, join one of the sessions, show up. You've mentioned that there's different avenues and different industries that you can talk to, different non-for-profits, volunteering. Is attending one of the COC meetings, is that where you can find a lot of this information and get connected, network?
Yeah, so when you sign up to be a member of the COC, well, first of all, Continuum of Care membership meetings are open to the public, so anyone can attend. But when you're a member, you have voting rights, so you can vote on the charter, which the COC approved the charter at the meeting in February.
And the charter has information on like what the steps will be moving to the future.
How we work together as a community, right? And so it really outlines how we're going to work together. And then at the upcoming meeting on April 25th at 6 p.m. at Harris Cherokee Civic Center.
Do they all happen at Harris?
It will happen at Harris.
It will.
At 6 p.m.
Okay.
Next Thursday, the 25th. I'm making sure I say all the dates right.
Let's open the calendar.
It should be the 25th at 6 p.m.
Yes, you're correct.
The membership will be meeting again. So again, members and the general public are welcome to attend that. Members who have attended orientation will be voting on the slate of officers for the leaders, or not the slate of officers, the slate for the leadership board that will guide us. The folks on the leadership board are intended to be stakeholders across various systems representing those systems. For instance, there is a representative from the healthcare community and behavioral health and law enforcement, right? So it's intended to bring lots of different people together.
Because that's what it takes.
Yeah,
really.
because that's what it takes, because homelessness touches
everyone
in all of those different systems. And so that next meeting on the 25th is going to be the next really important step for our community and working together. And everyone's invited to attend. Members can, when you sign up to join the COC, I think we got sidetracked.
No, that's fine. It's important.
When you sign up to join the COC, the Continuum of Care, and you attend orientation as a member, you can attend those meetings and vote and have input on that level.
I want to say, as a communications person, I want to clarify some language. So input is different than engagement in a way. So when you say input, do you mean is there a way to, how do I say this? I think the communication person doesn't know how to speak. Is there a way to absorb all this information or the input coming in? How will it be implemented? And who carries that out? Because these are important questions.
The community, yeah. So there is that involvement because members stay up to date on what's happening in our community through regular updates from the Homeless Strategy Division. And then as the leadership board is formed and settled, they will begin the process of creating committees and identifying COC members to be on those committees. And so people have the opportunity to bring their skills, their areas of expertise to those committees to really provide that level of interaction.
Okay. And then, so these happen monthly or? The
COC meetings happen on, I think it's twice a year. I don't remember exactly how often the COC membership meetings happen.
Right.
So stay tuned for more information on when the next one will be.
And again, Google. So a lot of people have issues with our website, which I totally understand.
Of course.
Every website is different. And if you're not used to it, then you're not used to it. I work with it daily, so I'm used to it. But Google is your friend. Google Asheville Continuum of Care, Homeless Strategy. Visit our page if you go under departments, Community and Economic Development, and then you can find the Homeless Strategies Division.
Absolutely.
And you can find a lot of information there.
Yep.
So that's one way to do it.
Yep.
And just get involved. And again, it's not an easy conversation to have, but having it will really help out.
Right.
And some solutions are just not feasible, such as putting people in a bus and shipping them somewhere else. I can give you 20 reasons why that's not a good thing.
Well, and our statistics show that the majority of people experiencing homelessness in our community are from our area. So
exactly.
They lived here before. They have friends and family here. This is their home.
Their home.
So why would we as a community send that person anywhere else?
Yeah, no, I'm just putting out some crazy ideas.
It is a common misconception that people think that we send our folks in a housing crisis to another community, or that other communities send them here. Mm-hmm. That's a myth. Well,
I'm not sure you address that in your learning series. Yeah. But I just want to finish off with saying that, if you know someone who has been through homelessness, or if you think you're going through it now or could potentially do it, reach out. There are a lot of services that you can take advantage of, and if you're interested, just come to the learning series. Debbie will very happily welcome you.
Happy to connect with people anytime.
We run out of time, but do you have any last words you want to say? Last invitation, maybe?
Yeah, I would say thank you for listening in, taking interest in homelessness. Come to a learning series, look into the continuum of care, and consider how you might respond.
Well, thank you so much, Debbie.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks.
And this is all the time we have today in What's Up Asheville. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.
You've been listening to What's Up Asheville, sponsored by the City of Asheville in collaboration with WRS 100.7 FM. This program will re-air every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 12:30. Thank you